Hey YouTube, Savon Draws here. Today we're going to be learning how to make a full character rig with bones in Toonsquid 2.0. Real quick, if you guys want to grab the file for this character to follow along in the tutorial, you can just join my Discord and go to the tutorial and help channel where you can pick up the file and just follow along with this tutorial. You can also send in your animations on the send in channel where you can send in your short animation with a description and I'll feature it on the channel. Additionally, you can learn more about different programs like Procreate Dreams, Toonsquid, and more in the Discord. Anything that interests you as a mobile creator on iPad or Android, you can just go there and speak with different people in the community. So now let's jump straight in, and in part 3 we'll be learning how to animate our character after we've rigged it up with bones. So to get started, we're going to go straight to our path tool, our vector path tool, and we're going to create a character. So we'll just start off with some lines. We'll make sure that we have both a stroke and a fill set. And we're just going to start off with our character's head. So here you can see me just making the shapes of our character's head, and then I'm using the corner radius slider to shape the head for the curvature of the character's head. Then I'm just going to edit my vector points so the face shape looks right, and then we'll move on to our next body part. And what we want to do with every body part that we're making, we want to make sure that we're differentiating the layer. So we want to be drawing each different shape on a different drawing layer, as this is something that's going to be very important when we set up our bones later. So now I'm just going to name our layer head so we can stay organized, and we're going to move on to the next layer, which will be the character's hair. Then once again, we're just going to use the same process of creating vector shapes to make a form, and we're going to make the character's hair. Very simple. We'll just make a bunch of different points based on how we want to make it look, and we'll use the corner radius slider again. Then we can edit our fill color by just going to the color wheel and changing the fill. Now we're going to make a new layer for the eyes or eyebrows. And if you want, you could just use a vector brush for this actually, rather than using the vector path for every single thing we're going to be making on the character. Then I'm just going to draw a stroke and hold my stroke at the end of it so it will turn into a curved line, and we'll be able to move the line as we see fit. Now we're going to duplicate our eye and flip it horizontally. So all we have to do is slide left on our layer, hit duplicate, then we're going to hit the mouse tool in the top left and hit the flip horizontal in the top right on the mouse tool. After that, we'll just draw a circle and hold to make a circle for the eye, and we'll fill it in with the fill tool. Now once again, we're going to duplicate and flip horizontal for our eye and just get in the habit, because that's what we're going to be doing to match up all of the drawings on this character, since we're looking at the character from a front view. Now the next part is very important. We already have our pupil, but now we're going to make the rest of our eye. We're going to want to make sure that the white part is in the layer under our pupil on both the left and right side. And we're also going to want to mask our pupils to our white layer. By masking it, our pupil can only move within the bounds of the white area that we have in the layer below it. So basically, when we're animating our pupils later, they won't be able to move outside of the white part of the eye. So I'm going to do all of that right now. I'm going to first duplicate my layer, then I'm going to drag it over and flip it horizontally. I'm not going to be animating my eyes individually, so I'm just going to merge both layers for the white part of the eye. And then I'm going to drag the pupil layers on top of the layer I just merged. And we're going to mask both pupil layers to the white layer. So we're just going to select both layers by sliding right on them. And then we're going to click on them and click toggle mask. And now as you can see, when we move our eye around, it can't go past the white area. Now I'm going to speed up making the character from here since we understand the logic of how to do it. We're going to make another line for the nose and we're going to make a curved line for the mouth. We're going to size down our character. Then we're going to make a box for the neck. We're going to make a trapezoid shape for the middle of the body. And if you want to bend this character in the middle of their stomach, it would be best that you place another point on the middle of the left side and the middle of the right side. For the sleeves, we're just going to make an unclosed rectangle. The reason we're leaving this open is so the stroke won't show on top of the green fill that we have here. Just try to line it up the best you can with the shirt until they match very well and look natural. After that, we're going to duplicate and we're going to make our arms. You can include fingers if you want because we can add this to the bones as well. And then we're just going to duplicate, of course, and flip horizontally. We're going to scale it down again. And now we're going to create our torso. We can just use a box here if we want. Then we're going to make our legs, and our jean pants is just going to be another unclosed rectangle. And we're going to make it look natural again, so the strokes don't overlap. Since we want our knee to bend, make sure you add another 2 points in the middle of both sides of the left and right side of the jeans. This will be where we bend our knee from when we add our bones. Now I'm just going to do some changes to the character to make it look more proper. And I'm going to add more points for the shoulder as well so it can bend. So basically just make sure that you add another point to the shoulder sleeve. And then the sleeve will be able to bend properly when we add our bones. Finally, I'm just going to make a cut in our shirt by making the neck circular at the bottom. And of course, you can't forget the shoes. Now for the last step of making this character, I'm just going to make a few adjustments. As you can see, the proportions are not right. His body is super big and his head is super small, so we're just going to edit the size on a few of these limbs. And after a good amount of editing, we have this guy. Now, if you haven't already, we should group all the individual parts of our body so we have a layer management set up like this. And then after we have that layer management set up, we're going to select all these groups and put them all into one folder that holds the whole character. And now finally, we can get started on our bones. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to select the group layer that holds the whole character. And then we're going to open our properties, we're going to hit effects, and then we're going to hit bones. So it applies to everything within the group. Now we're going to start the bones by going upwards from our waist. We're just going to slide up as that's going to be the base of our character. Now, just like the first part of this tutorial, we're going to make sure that we don't click off of our bone. We're going to want to make sure that the bone is still highlighted blue. And we're just going to drag up for our body. Then we're going to drag right for our shoulder, drag down for our upper arm, drag down for our lower arm. Then we're going to drag for our fingers. We're going to click on our lower arm again, make sure it's blue and highlighted. And then we're going to drag for our thumb. After that, we'll select our upper body again, and we'll do the same thing we just did on the left side. Now we're going to reselect our waist, and we're going to make the bones for the leg, starting with the left leg. Now I'm going to change the color of our active bones to red instead of blue, just so there's more clarity on this tutorial, so you guys can see it on this character, as we already have a blue character. Now while you're still selected to the upper leg bone, we're just going to make a lower leg bone, and we're going to make a bone for the foot. Reselect the waist and do the same thing on the other side. Now we'll reselect our upper body, and we're going to drag up for the neck, and then we're going to make a big bone for the head. Now this character will seem like it's done with its bones, but when you try and test it out, you'll quickly see that things aren't moving properly how they're supposed to. So to fix this, we're just going to bind all of our bones to individual layers. So just like we did in part 1 of this tutorial, we'll bind everything. We're going to start with our leg. We're going to bind it to the upper leg layer. For our torso bone, we'll bind it to the torso layer. Lower leg bone, lower leg layer. And then we'll just continue binding our bones to the appropriate drawing layer. You can just slow down this part to follow how I bind all the bones to the body. If you've already watched part 1 of the tutorial, you're probably familiar with what you need to do here. Now I'm going to slow down on the head, because on the head we're going to want to bind our one bone to multiple different layers, which is everything that is in the head group. So we want to bind it to the white of our eyes, our pupils, our nose, our mouth, our hair, and the shape of our head. And then they will all move together. I forgot to say the eyebrows, but go ahead and bind it there too. Now we're going to take some time to focus on the arm just so we can learn a little bit more about how bones work here, and also if you skipped the part just now, because you may have missed a very crucial part of it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go back to our lower arm bone. We're going to click edit bone binding, and we're also going to bind it to the upper arm layer. This will help our arm to move together as a group instead of separately. Now as you can see, our arm still doesn't move correctly, but there's a way for us to make it work. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another small bone on the side of our main lower arm bone. We're going to want to make sure that we click our lower arm bone so it's selected. It should be highlighted in your highlight color for your bones. Mine is red. Then we're going to just make a bone on the side of the arm. Now we'll reselect the lower arm bone, and we'll make another child bone on the other side of the arm. And we're going to bind both of these bones we just made to the lower arm layer. As a rule of thumb for making bone characters in Toonsquid, when you're having trouble controlling a bone, just add more bones and bind them to see if it will bend correctly. For a better example, adding a bone on my shoulder and making it diagonal the same way the drawing is shaped allows me to bend my shoulder more accurately when I'm moving my middle shoulder bone. Now that I added the bone on the shoulder, I can move my shoulder bone, and after I move it, I can enable scale editing, and I can just move the bone on the left of my shoulder to match up with my drawing, and then our lines will be connected again. As you can see, I also added a small bone on my sleeve so I can control the direction of the sleeve. So as I said, if you need more control, add more bones where you need them. It's important that you troubleshoot the bones that you're working with in Toonsquid, because different characters will require different methods to solve how to move your character. Whenever you want to create a big movement for a limb, make sure you grab the main limb and not the side limbs that we're creating these side bones, because you want to move everything as one movement. Now, at this point of the tutorial, if you notice that everything still just isn't bending correctly, just like I mentioned earlier in the tutorial, you may just need to add more vector points to your drawing. So we're going to do that right now. Really quick, as an example, you could see that I have 2 points on my neck right now, but it's still not bending. If you're getting this behavior, it's because you don't have enough vector points on your drawing. So we're gonna open our layers back up, and we're gonna go back to the vector path tool, and we're just gonna add 2 points in the middle on both sides for our neck. And since we were trying to work on the arms just now, we'll do the same for the arms, and we'll also do the same for the legs, if you didn't do this previously in the tutorial. So that's another important pillar when you're trying to create bones. You want to make sure that you have enough vector points, because this is what the bones will actually bend on. If you don't have enough points, it will just make the bones move a straight drawing. If you would like, you could also add this to the shoulders and the body to make them more flexible. Now that we have all this done, we can see that when we go back into our bones, just by going into the properties bar and hitting effects, when we move the bones on our arm, it will turn much better. So we're gonna move our main bone in the middle, and now there's much less distorting when we move our arm. And if we want to fix the small amount of distorting that does happen, we just use the side bones that we created on our arm. Now, our right arm still isn't moving correctly because we need to bind the lower arm to the upper bone again on the right arm. So we're going to do that right now. And now, as you can see, the right arm is moving much better. It is moving a little bit more wonky than the left arm. So if you want to fix that movement up, just make sure you follow the steps that we did on the left arm and perfect it however you see fit. Now, once again, we'll select our shoulder as our parent, and we'll create a side bone for our shoulder. And we'll also create another bone for the sleeve. Remember to draw the bones on the edges of your drawing and to bind them to your arm layer. Now we can move our sleeve into place just by dragging on the circle. We can also hit our bone and click enable scale editing if we want to fix up any distortion that may be created from dragging our bones in our drawing. Keep in mind that you can also rotate bones when they have scale editing enabled. You just need to click slightly near the scale editing circle and drag. But if you hit the actual scale editing circle, it will only edit the scale. Now that we added our vector points to our drawing, we'll see that if we go back to our neck, it's able to bend properly. Now we're going to do something called a rotation limit that will stop our neck from bending in a way that doesn't make sense. So we're going to go down in our properties, we'll scroll down, and we're just going to hit rotation limit. And as you can see, we get two little lines on the side of our bone, and that basically shows the edges of where your bone can bend to. So we can edit the edges just by typing in a different number on our rotation limit. I'm going to go ahead and put -30 degrees for my character, and you don't need to enter the degree symbol. Now, as you can see, the neck won't bend any further than the rotation limits. After that, we can set it up for any other bone. So I'm going to go ahead and set it up for the bone that holds the head. We're just going to select the bone, scroll down, hit rotation limits, and again, I'm going to put -30. Now we'll go down to our leg, our lower leg, and we'll set up extra side bones again like we did for both arms. Once again, just make sure that you select your lower leg bone so it's apparent, and then we're going to just create 2 bones on each side of the leg. Now we're going to follow what we did before, and we're going to bind those 2 bones to the pants layer. And now if we take the time to move it around, we'll see that our pants are moving much better than they were before. Now you can do the same for the left leg, but we're going to move on to the eyes. For the eyes, I actually recommend that you go to the head group layer that holds the eye layers, the 2 separate eye layers. Then we're going to create a bone effect on the head group, and then we're going to create a single bone, and we can create it anywhere. I'm going to put it near the head but off of the head. Then I'm going to bind both eyes to this bone. And we're going to bind them both just so they will move together. And now we can see that our eyes will always be perfectly in match with each other. Of course, if you want to have eyes that move separately, instead you create 2 bones and you bind them separately. Now that we understand everything, let's do a quick refresher to make sure the information sticks. We're just going to do a speed bone run of this character. So let's start with the torso. We're going to move up to the body. Then we'll zoom in. We'll make 2 points for the neck if you want 2 points. We're going to make a big point for our head. We're going to click back to our body, make a point for the shoulder. We'll make 2 points down the arm. Then we'll make 2 points for our finger. We'll reselect the lower arm, make 2 points for the thumb. Then we'll reselect our body, our upper body. We'll make a shoulder, 2 points for the arm, 2 points for the thumb. Select back, 2 points for the finger. We'll select our torso again. Then we'll do 2 points for the leg on both sides. We'll select back, do it again. Then we'll make a point for both legs. Make sure to select the lower leg each time. Then we're going to bind all of our bones again. Slow this part down to half speed on YouTube to see it in real time. You can also skip to the next chapter. Now that we're done with our main bones, we're going to make those side bones that we made earlier. We'll select our shoulder. We're going to make 2 bones as a child. We'll select it again and make 2 bones for the sleeve. For our arm, we'll do 2 bones on each side. Reselect, another 2 bones. The same with the left arm. The same with the left shoulder. Now for our legs, we'll also do side bones. So you can do this for both the upper legs and the lower leg. I'll just do it for the lower leg. Now we can move our character, but don't forget to bind the side bones to the right layers as well. Now we can move our character and we got it up and running in about 5 minutes. You can add more points to the middle of the body, whether it be vector points or bones if you want it to be more flexible. Now finally, we can animate our character. And real quick, congratulate yourself if you got this far, guys. Now, I'm not the most experienced when it comes to animation with bones. In fact, I'm just learning this myself, but I'll show you guys the way I processed animating this character. So everyone just like and subscribe for part 3, which will be coming soon. I wanted to actually put it in this video, but it's just too long. I'll just do a live voiceover of my animation and how I made it. So you'll see all the mistakes I made and the solutions I come up with to fix it and create my animation. Once again, you guys can pick up this file and mess around with it. You just need to go to the tutorial section of my Discord, go to that channel and download this file, send in whatever you create or send in your own animations to get featured on the channel. And just let me know what you guys think on this tutorial, give me any feedback, and I'll make sure to fix anything up that you don't understand in part 3.